Hey, what's up, Exiles? Paycheck here. Today I wanted to make a video showing the Lich build that I've been playing for Dawn of the Hunt League. This character is actually a support character, which I, at least to my knowledge, have not seen anybody else playing at all. Does really good. It pretty much runs like an Aurabot or a Cursebot if you're familiar with Path of Exile 1. If you're not, basically your character boosts up the damage of everybody around you and curses enemies to make them significantly slower and weaker. So you boost up your party's damage and you weaken the enemies by quite a bit. So it's a pretty fun support build if you enjoy that kind of play style. This build does do very well in high-end juiced maps. I'm actually using this build to push the ladder right now. So currently on the ladder, at least at the time of recording, I'm ranked 12 and I'm the second place Lich at the moment. So it is very well suited for high-end juiced mapping. You can throw pretty much everything in the game at it and it still does very well. So I'll be going over that today. And if you guys like playing a support character or you're interested in any kind of group play, then maybe this will help you guys out. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so looking at the gear for this character, there's three uniques that we use. Not even really mandatory necessarily, except for one of them that I would say. The only mandatory unique is going to be Dojer's Damning, so super inexpensive item, very easy to find on your own. And we use this just for the additional curse. So that's the only unique that I would say is mandatory. Other than that, for my setup, I'm using at Series Disdain for survivability on a Lich. For the 10% of damage taken bypasses energy shield on a Lich, that's basically 10% damage reduction. So I'm using that for survivability in endgame juice mapping. And then the final unique is the gloves, the prisoner's monocles. I use this purely for the increased slow magnitude at the bottom. It's again, it's not mandatory. The slow magnitude does help a little bit, like it'll boost up your temp chain slow by a few percent, maybe anywhere between like 2 and 5% or so. So it's not anything massive, but I was trying to push that slow as high as I possibly could. So that's what I've been using. I've been enjoying it. Um, but yeah, not mandatory. There's plenty of other options that you could use here. So other than that, for your weapon, you'll be using a scepter, and really you're just trying to go for as much damage on here as you possibly can. So the increased allies in your presence deal increased damage. That's probably the first thing to look for, and then after that, it's just kind of filling in what mods you need for your carry. So I'm teaming with a lightning spear Amazon. So the accuracy rating, the crit damage, and flat lightning damage all works really well for our carry. Anything in addition to that that you can get, like the intelligence, that's all just kind of bonus extra stuff, but it's not really needed. You're really just stacking as much damage as possible. And then the rest of your gear is pretty much just all your resists and energy shield, as much mana and life as you can. I'll go over why mana is so important here in just a few minutes once we start looking at the Ascendancy tree. But yeah, all your gear, some life, some energy shield, some mana. In total for spirit, I actually have more than enough spirit on this setup. So I just started plugging in some extra things to use up all my spirit. But in total, you will end up needing 266 energy shield, or correction, 266 spirit. So you get 100 by default just getting through the story. You will get 100 at least from your scepter, and then that leaves 66 left over to get between your chest piece and your amulet. So long as you're at 266, then that's what I require for this build. If you go over that, then there's some additional things you can put in, but 266 is what you'll actually need to get the build up and running. All right. But that's all the gear. So let's go ahead and jump into the next section. All right, so for the gems that we're running on this build, the Spirit Reservation gems that we're going to be running is a double Blasphemy setup as well as Blink. So for your primary Blasphemy setup, you're going to be running Temp Chains and Enfeeble. Those two will pretty much always stay the same. You'll never replace those. And we have those linked to Ritualistic Curse, Encumbrance, and Heightened Curse. The ritualistic curse is for a huge increase in area of effect, 50% increased area of effect. And the downsides from this gem actually have no impact when you're running these curses through blasphemy. So, no downside, just 50% increased area of effect. Encumbrance helps with the slow magnitude. I try to stack slow magnitude pretty much everywhere I can. And same goes for heightened curse. That's just going to increase the effectiveness of both of those curses. So if we look at these, my temp chains currently is at a 53% slow, and enfeeble for non-unique targets has a damage penalty on enemies of 37% and damage penalty on unique targets of 24%. So that means at pretty much all times, every enemy on the entire screen is moving 53% slower than they normally would and attacking 53% slower than they normally would. And when they do actually attack, they're dealing anywhere from 37 to 24% less damage. So, very good for survivability. A lot of times you will get to the point where you can just stand in front of enemies and they're just not doing anything because they're too slow to actually chunk down your energy shield, that by the time they attack you a second time, your energy shield has already recharged back to full. So, very good survivability with this setup. I would not recommend changing anything about that. For your second blasphemy setup, though, this is something that can change quite a bit. So I'm currently running Conductivity Curse, but that's because the character that I'm supporting uses primarily lightning damage. So if you are running with an ally that is using primarily fire damage, then you'll want to switch Conductivity out for Flammability. And then whatever damage type they're running, you're just going to want to use a curse that supports their damage type, right? So whatever damage type curse you're using doesn't matter. It depends on your carry. So you can swap that out. But as for supports that I use on that, really the main one is just magnified effect. That alone is really all you need. I threw in Hex Bloom in there as well to kind of help try to spread things out a little bit, but I don't even notice it, to be honest with you. So it may not even be doing all that much, probably isn't. So, not really a huge deal to have that one at all, so long as you have the magnified effect. And then the last one is Cursed Ground, which Cursed Ground does not actually even work with Blasphemy. The only reason why I have this there is for to remind myself that when I switch to a single target curse setup, I want to take this with the curse gem. So if I'm going against a single target, Blasphemy has a less magnitude of your curses. So your curses are actually weaker when you're running them with Blasphemy. So if you're going into content where you're going against just a single target, so like a pinnacle boss or anything like that, you actually want to take this one curse in this setup out and put it by itself, right? And then that's when I'll put these other gems in there. Okay. So if you're going against single target, it's just the one curse by itself with magnified effect and cursed ground. So then you just cast it manually. You have a huge AoE, and anytime the boss is in that massive AoE, then they're going to be cursed. And it will be much, much stronger because, as you can see, conductivity right now for me lowers 52% lightning resist with this setup. But then if I take this and I put it back into blasphemy, now it is only 37%. So while mapping, while clearing a lot of enemies, we run it in our blasphemy setup just so that it's affecting more enemies all the time and it's real easy and simple to use. But then when going single target, it's just going to be conductivity, magnified effect, and cursed ground. Okay. So other than that, the final thing that I run is Blink. The only support for that you need is Ingenuity for the reduced cooldown. I have Energy Barrier linked to it as well to potentially help with Energy Shield recharge, but I have not noticed a single difference since I've put that in, so that's not even needed. I just threw it in there to test it out, and yeah, not even needed, but you can throw that in there if you want to. Other than that, convalescence on weapon swap is another important one. So convalescence we use, but not in our primary setup. So it doesn't reserve our spirit from our curses or anything. So, in order to do that, just make sure you have Convalescence equipped only on your second weapon slot here. Do not check it on your first one. And that way, if you ever start taking damage, your energy shield starts coming down, you can still press Convalescence, and that'll boost your energy shield back up. And it's on a weapon swap, so it's not going to take away from your primary spirit. So, it's actually I don't know if it's intended, but it's incredibly overpowered with the way that it works because you never even need to swap weapons and you still get to use it. Other than that, there's nothing else really important. The last thing that I actually do anything with is going to be the Malice. Malice I have supported with Persistence, and that's all that's actually important there for more skill effect duration. It can come in handy against bosses because Malice inflicts critical weakness, which makes enemies more likely to take a critical hit. So Persistence makes those critical weakness stacks last longer. By default, it's 4 seconds, so this adds 40% more duration. So they'll last a little bit longer. That's the only thing that's really important there. And then I had extra spirit, so I'm at 296 spirit. So I had 30 extra, so I'm running cool headed and warm blooded. Again, not really needed, but I had the extra spirit, so I threw them in there. But that's it for the actual gem setup that we use. So let's go ahead and move on to the next section. All right, so for our passive tree, let's go ahead and start by looking at our ascendancy choices. So I decided to take Soulless Form and Eternal Life to pair with Etziri's Disdain for increased damage reduction. 10% less damage taken is very good, especially in high-end juiced mapping because you will be getting hit a lot, and the more damage reduction we can get, the better. So for survivability, that's why I took that. And then, other than that, very important to actually enable the Aurabot portion of this build is Necromantic Conduit. So, this gives allies in your presence Unholy Might, which Unholy Might grants 30% of all damage as extra chaos. So if your ally was going to deal 100 damage to an enemy, with that node allocated, they will now deal 100 damage plus an extra 30 chaos damage. So that node alone already, you're increasing your ally's damage by 30%, more or less, right? Now, paired with that right afterwards is Blackened Heart, increased magnitude of Unholy Might buffs per 100 maximum mana. I'm currently at 1477 mana. That could easily go quite a bit higher. I could probably even get that up to like 2000 or so with my current gear, just getting better mana rolls on my gear. So, but even as is at 1400 mana, I'm increasing the Unholy Might from 30% to, I believe, about 46%, maybe 47%. So, already just with that alone, that is basically giving all of your allies 47% more damage. So, pretty significant buff just with that alone. When you pair those nodes that you're getting for the extra chaos damage with a scepter that increases your allies damage, generally you can expect to just about double your allies damage depending on how good your scepter is. Could be a little bit less than double, could be a bit more, but that's usually about what you can expect, is giving them about double their damage, right? So other than that, rest of the ascendancy tree, not too much crazy going on here. we pick up curse nodes, some slow magnitude nodes, and then as much energy shield as we can pretty much get. Um, the only thing really of note on here, other than this one keystone, we do need this for another additional curse. So this is what gives us that third curse, paired with the Dodri's Damning Ring. Only other thing of note on here is the aura nodes on the tree. So for those of you that don't know, when you run a curse inside of Blasphemy, it gains the aura tag. So when different passive skills say aura skills have increased magnitude, you can basically treat that as saying your curses have increased magnitude because you're running them with blasphemy and it turns them into an aura, right? So you do want to take all the different aura effect nodes and presence nodes so that you have bigger AoE on them. And yeah, presence area of effect and aura magnitude, right? So that's the only other noteworthy thing on the skill tree. I know I'm a higher level, so like I said, currently 97. So you won't, if you're a little bit lower level on here, these three nodes are the last ones that I've taken. So you can remove those. That'll put you at 94. And then you can take out these two extra energy shield nodes, and that'll put you at 92. Hopefully that's achievable. If you still need to remove a couple nodes after that, you can pretty much just start taking out a little bit of energy shield here and there, and just get more defenses as you level up. Or you could even get rid of some of these stun threshold nodes, because at a certain point, if you're slowing enemies enough, then you don't even really need it because they almost never actually hit you all that often. So that would be the next thing to remove. And then that would take you to what, like level 89 or so. So right around there, and you'll be good to go. All right. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Hopefully, this build is useful to some of you. I know I've had a lot of fun with playing this kind of support character. Hopefully, you guys do too. If you have any questions, feel free to leave some comments down below. Or if you really wanted to, you can come and catch me on Twitch and ask me live. I'm streaming on Twitch pretty much every day, trying to grow my Twitch channel. And I would absolutely love to hear from you guys over there. So other than that, hopefully the build does some good for you or your friends, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.